Going back to that, Jim, how do you feel that type of working over about almost a decade with that type of space? Can you talk to us about how it's informed, say, these later paintings?
That's a good point, Harry. And the ones we're talking about are in the back room here, the curved space. This is one of the things that we had become aware of. Things were being flattened out so much in Jacques' painting, and the whole space seemed to be pushed out to the side, although it was a very shallow type of space, of course. But so we were experimenting with that, which was informed by science and physics, where everything is curved apparently, and the whole thing came from that by a Raymond who was well-read, and he was well-read, and he's very erudite on all this stuff, so that this was sort of the impetus to experiment with space, and that was the main goal. So that kind of color was very, very scientifically ordered, whereas the paintings, later ones, are once again, in a freer, more intuitive way. And there isn't the same attempt to make something things happen in space. However, things that we dealt with in those years, I think are still in the paintings. They can't help it. Because everything we do, see, or experience is part of us. And it comes out in one way or another in the painting.
I don't know if this is maybe a good time that we start inviting some of the questions from the audience. And if you don't mind, I'm going to bring around a little portable mic just so that it's audible for everyone. Can I open the floor up to questions? Are we ready?
I think we're still thinking.
It's a lot to digest, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
That we've heard.
Yeah.
But what comes across immediately is the magnificent color.
Yes.
Which must have come from many, many sources. It's like, all right, you said scientific, but scientific, yes, but it's still taking later your color forms and taking the chaos that color creates and turning it again into order from your intuitive side.
Good. Well
that
done.
has worked.
Thank you, Matt. This is what I said at the opening. I wanted everyone to come to this and to ask questions because it would make it easier for Harry, John, and I to think up of brilliant things to say. Thanks, Matt.
Yes.
Jack, my name is Peter. Pleasure to meet you. I'm an experimenter myself. It sounds like you have your favorite paintbrush. Are you also an experimenter and like to use different things? Fine paint, things like that?
As far as brushes, color, and oil go, I'm an experimenter. Beyond that, in terms of building something, no. I don't experiment with other media.
Thank you.
Welcome. We need help.
Sorry, thanks for the introduction of this.
Hi. I just had I have two questions, but since I probably won't get the microphone again, I'll try and use them into one single one. The Chapman years had a huge influence in the sense that it changed very much how you painted, and what you've done since then, especially the most recent, as was mentioned, comes back very much to the 1970s way of using your space and colors. And I had a question about the transition from that very almost extreme narrative and if you say scientific use of color, so let's call that a restriction of your freedom to use whatever colors you wanted, to now where you have, with the calligraphic strokes and sometimes narrative, sometimes just forms and colors. So I'm just wondering about that transition from that very rigid time to now, to what you're doing now. And you mentioned before that you used the word dissatisfaction. I was wondering if that had anything to do with your process.
Andrew Kensky was a very honored member of the chapter group. He's a writer. You just heard him. Thank you, Andrew. That's a good question. And the whole fact of the scientific or ordered, seemingly ordered way of the reigning years, there's always a dissatisfaction with what you're doing. You never reach the very thing. And this satisfaction ranges from tearing up a canvas or putting big black marks or whatever, to, I want to try something different. I don't think this is working. What if I did this? It's always a matter of what if. And what if this happened? What if that happened? And I think you go down those other roads to the freedom. Now, the way we were working with the chaplain group, it didn't really, within a very narrow parameters, did it allow for that kind of freedom. But there was in that a discipline that was born in us that I think has affected later works of all of us who are in the group. And so we're taking the best. This is always what happens, so all the way through. You pick up experiences, you hear things, you read things, all the rest of it, and you see things that somehow get worked into your psyche and into your inner being so that they will find a way out if that's your way of working.
Yeah, please.
Would it be all right to ask a question related to that question? I will, there's just always a preamble. Okay, because, being a person here in Victoria, and I think going back to, say, the 70s, that sense that whatever information is coming through how to make a painting might be coming from somewhere else a lot of times. I mean, you might, yeah, like in some of these 70s things, I might say, there's something about trying to sort out what comes after Cubism, especially if you're very interested in the body, like looking at Bacon or something.
Sure.
But in a way, it's always someone else's material, and you've got to sort out the someone else's quality of it. And I'm wondering if, in a way, after the Chapman stuff, being able to then go back and feel as if these spatial considerations, how to use space, how to put that body in that space, it no longer feels as if it's being lent by someone else because there's been this system to be taken up and then rejected. It gives you a different look back at this.
That's a good point, because I think while we were looking back at that time as well, it did offer the freedom, even in the very restricted way we were working, it offered the freedom to explore and invent almost different ways of dealing with the same old subject matter, because all it comes down to landscape, still life, or figure. And so at any point, if you're going to be dealing with those things, you want to add to it, and there's so much. And in the earlier years, I think we're all grasping and looking for examples of somebody's work that would help us get through the current problem we're having. And I think that carries on to a certain degree. Like in mid-career, I had to be very careful how much I looked at Francis Bacon, because he's so seductive and he's so right, if you put it that way, in what he was doing. That now it's just a matter of looking at it and reviewing a little bit, a little tiny glimpse at him, because he still has that power. But it gets less and less power over you because you're carrying on in your own fashion.